Hey, it's Andryanna, and welcome to the Juggle is Real podcast. I am so glad you're here. I thought we could do something a little different. I guess every once in a while, I do a bit of a catch up to share what's going on in my life lately, some updates and reflections, and then the things that are on my heart that you might be feeling too. So I thought we could talk about that for a short little while and how we can move forward together this spring and just do a little bit of that check in. So I do want to acknowledge just that I've been having really great conversations with listeners lately. And one person mentioned that they actually found this podcast because they were searching for weighted vests. And this episode popped up about my weighted vest era and the things that I'm doing to really lean into my overall health and well being now that I am 40. And so it's just so funny and so interesting how something like that, something so small, can be a point of connection. And so thank you, Kim, for letting me know about that. And to that point, I just wanted to mention quickly that I thought it would be cool to give away some of my Juggle is Real authentic self-care planners to listeners who are reaching out, who are sliding into my DMs on Instagram at Andryanna G, or who are leaving reviews on Apple Podcasts to let me know how this podcast is resonating with them. Maybe there's a guest that has stood out, or maybe there's a topic that you've really enjoyed, or just overall impressions of the show. I think the feedback is just so wonderful. And if you have things that you would love to hear about or learn about, or guests that you would love to see on the show, I would love to hear that as well. And so if you do slide into those DMs, if you do leave me a comment on Apple Podcasts and I read it on the show, I will be sending you a copy of the Juggle is Real Authentic Self-Care Planner Volume 2, which is out now. And it's such a beautiful way to tune in and to care for yourself in those really meaningful ways that actually move the needle forward. So for this episode, we're going to talk about some things that I'm going through with my youngest, who just turned 4, some things that are happening right now in the world, in Canada, United States, some current events. And I have some strategies, some things that we can do, because while we cannot control everything, we can totally control how we are responding. And so I wanted to just go through some of these things. We won't be here for long, but I want to make sure that it's meaningful. So if this sounds good to you, let's just dive right in.
Hey, I'm Andryanna Gonco, and this is the Juggle is Real podcast. As I share my ongoing journey from experiencing burnout to leading a more mindful and intentional life with better balance, I hope you feel seen, that you realize your worth, lighten your load, and prioritize your own needs. As we hear from leading experts and well-known faces in the wellness, entrepreneurship, education, and motherhood space, I hope you gain insights, proven practices, and learn actionable tools to help you enjoy the juggle of work, family, and everything in between with a little less stress and a lot more ease, joy, and fun. Most of all, I hope you find what you need to simplify, streamline, and supercharge your own journey of better balance and self-love. Are you with me? Let's get started.
This episode of The Juggle is Real is supported by Orange Naturals. Spring is all about fresh starts, so why stop at your home? I know spring cleaning, we talk about that a lot, but let's talk about a reset that starts from the inside out. Now, after a long winter that may have included, I know for myself, heavy meals, maybe a little bit of added stress, and a few extra indulgences, our bodies could use a refresh too. And one of the simplest ways I've found to reset my routine without a complete overhaul is a probiotic. And I absolutely love the probiotics from Orange Naturals. Orange Naturals Rapid Restore Probiotic is perfect if you've been feeling off track, whether that's from a lot of travel, additional stress, or if you're recovering from a cold, or if you've been on antibiotics. It's a quick and simple way to support your digestion, your energy, and your overall well-being. And if you want an everyday gut health boost, Orange Naturals everyday probiotic helps maintain balance, promotes a healthy gut brain connection, and even supports skin health. I love that Orange Naturals is a proudly Canadian brand with formulas for the whole family from infancy all the way to adulthood. Plus, they're non GMO and free from gluten, dairy, and artificial additives. So you know you're giving your body the good stuff. So while you're refreshing your home this spring, don't forget to give yourself a little reset too. You can find Orange Naturals probiotics at your local pharmacy or a health food retailer, and you can visit orangenaturals.com to discover a store in your neighborhood where you can connect with knowledgeable staff members who will help you find the right products for you and your family. There's actually a spot on their website that is Find a Retailer, so you can connect directly. That's orangenaturals.com/find-a-retailer to discover the store in your neighborhood. Now let's get back to the episode. Okay, so we're kind of in this season of change. We're in spring, and I thought we could do a little bit of a catch up. My youngest just turned 4, and geez, where did the time go? It's kind of like I've been having these moments of feeling really sentimental, but also just, of course, feeling so grateful. And it really is these moments. I don't know about you, but like on my kids' birthdays, I wake up the morning of their birthday and I just do this like little trip down memory lane on my phone where I go back to the photos when they were born and that newborn stage. And I can sort by year. So I kind of go to their birthday every year. And it's just bringing tears to my eyes right now because it's incredible how these moments that can feel like they last so long, and the entire journey of pregnancy and finding out that you are expecting, and those last few weeks and few days of pregnancy can feel like literally forever. It feels like you're just so excited and anxious and maybe a little scared about how things are going to go, and then all of a sudden you blink and your baby's turning 4. And it's just bittersweet, especially for moms. But I do know that while I'm feeling the tug of nostalgia, I think it's okay to honor these feelings while also embracing the present moment and the present times. That quote by Gretchen Rubin, "The days are long, but the years are short." I could remember really feeling like I was in the weeds and it's tough and you're breastfeeding, or you're really just like thinking in like minute by minute and hour by hour and nap time by nap time. But looking back, like that stage just flew by. And I know, like, and I feel this way often, like, and I'm tearing up as I talk about it, but it's embracing it, acknowledging how I'm feeling, but also being like, hey, and I have a 4-year-old, and we're out of the diaper phase, and he's so sweet and so inquisitive, and he's just so smart in the things that he says, and he's so funny, and just all of it, right? And so what I'm trying to do, even through these moments of like having a frog in my throat while I'm talking right now, is like, instead of wishing that time would slow down, I'm trying to reframe it in how can I slow down within these very fast and fleeting times. So that's what I wanted to share with you. I mean, amidst the fun and the birthday parties, and Zach wanted to have a Hulk banana cake for his birthday. I don't know where he got banana as a flavor for a cake, but my mother-in-law came in clutch and she hand baked a delicious banana cake, and she put green frosting on it without too much food coloring. And, we put this beautiful birthday party together, and I was on Amazon and I got some decorations. But like, instead of wishing that we could slow down time, because we can't, we all have the same 24 hours in a day, and it's the same for all of us, right? Like, this is the universal neutralizer is time. But how can we slow down within these moments that we have? And that's really to try to bring ourselves to the present moment and actually enjoy it and actually be there for it and embrace it. And while we're in these very busy stages, and I know we're like here, there, and everywhere. And just this past weekend, there were 11 ice times for my boys. It's like, how can we take those moments within the back and forth and the here and there and the busy times to have maybe a little bit of mindful play or just have eye contact, and just actually look at our children and see them and really let them know that we see them and just be there for those few fleeting moments or just pausing, when they go to bed and just taking a minute when they're sleeping to pause and watch them at this exact stage. So I invite you to reflect on where you're at in this season of motherhood, whether you're experiencing a challenging time or you're like in the throes and feeling like you have not a lot to give. What is a moment that you can savor today? What is just like a second that you can stop and pause and see where you're at and know that you'll probably miss it, looking back. And I don't know how or why this happened. And maybe it's just for this exact moment to share it. But when I was looking back on the day that Zach was born, we had him at home. It was kind of in the pandemic lockdown times of 2021. And the night before, and he actually came a few days early. My other two were overdue. They were born past their due dates. And so I just assumed that, that my third would be a little bit past his due date as well. And he was actually born a few days early. But on the day before he was born, I had taken photos of Ben and Ashton when they were sleeping, just to have it. And so on Sunday morning, when I was looking back through the newborn photos, I saw those. So it's like, how can we just savor these little tiny things? So I'll leave you with that. The reflections on time and motherhood and how we can just enjoy these moments while they're here, even though I know we've got a million, zillion, cajillion other things to do. Um, Another thing that's been on my heart lately is, and obviously in a lot of conversations we've been having and, having birthday parties and family over and a lot of conversation about the current political climate and, staying informed. I also just think that it can be really easy to be inundated with all of the messages that are being thrown at us. And I think it's important that, yes, we stay informed, but without losing ourselves in that process and without just taking on the immense weight of these very important topics that are really, really taking up a lot of airtime in the climate that we're living in. I mean, news is heavy. It's, that way for many reasons. Often it's to get those ratings and to fight for our attention. And I just want to acknowledge that we're in a time right now, and I live in Canada. There's an upcoming Canadian election happening. There's ongoing trade disputes happening between Canada and the US with tariffs. And these things absolutely do affect our lives. And you've probably seen it, whether you're pumping gas or you're at the grocery store or perhaps your business or the industry that you're in has really been affected by what's going on. I just want to just share some things that I've learned over the years, especially going through the pandemic, and some things that were really helpful for me is really not allowing that messaging to consume me, because I know that there's a lot at stake, and there's a lot happening, and we should know about the things that are happening. And I think it's important that, as you have important decisions to make about, whether you are Canadian and voting in this upcoming election, whether you are, in an industry that is directly impacted by things that are going on in the economy right now, like to visit and to keep informed with trusted places that are providing you information that is digestible and factual and somewhat neutral, but not to be overwhelmed by it. Maya Angelou said, "You may not control all the events that happen to you, but you can decide not to be reduced by them. So, a few things, like to stay informed without spiraling, without taking it in a direction that's going to be harmful for you and it's going to weigh you down, is of course, like, these beautiful phones that have every single answer can be so beautiful, but to limit that doom scrolling or to choose intentional sources that you trust, that you feel are providing you with the information that will allow you to make informed decisions, but not listening to, every news source or every TikTok or every, Instagram reel with all of these opposing opinions. And, a lot of these things are here just to try to grab our attention. Um, and I know we're having these conversations, and I shared like we just had a birthday party for Zach, and there's people, in our home, and they have very opposing opinions, and that they have, you know, the things that they believe in are very different. But engaging in purposeful conversation that is with love rather than reactive ones, rather than getting into these harmful debates that can often be really negative instead of helpful. And then focusing on what you can do, whether it's voting, whether it's supporting businesses and industries that you feel really strongly about, or having these discussions, educated discussions, but not letting it spiral and not letting it turn harmful and not letting it be about I'm right and you're wrong and black and white. Having conversations with people that you love and trust, knowing that it's okay if you have differences of opinion, but that it's all with love, right? Because and a lot of what we talk about on the Juggle is Real is just that our energy and bringing ourselves and turning inward and finding things that are meaningful for us and being really intentional about the time that we have. Our energy matters, our vibration matters. So really be mindful of who and what is taking up space in your minds, in your hearts, what you're listening to, what you're surrounding yourself with. Um, and just asking yourself those questions. And if it is making you feel not good, if the conversations are really heavy, it's okay to press pause. It's okay to take a step back. It's okay to leave the conversation. And it's asking yourself, like, how do you feel after you are consuming the news or scrolling through and looking at a lot of politically fueled conversation? How do you feel? If it's draining, well, what's one way that you can set a boundary? Maybe you are going to mute these conversations, whether it's notifications on your phone, whether it's removing some of these accounts or just muting them for now. Is there something that you can do to really just protect your peace during this current political climate in a time that can feel really scary? How can you protect your energy and keep your vibration strong while also staying informed? So I will leave you with those questions, and you can think about that. And then the last thing I did want to just kind of touch on, and it kind of maybe goes hand in hand with the climate that we're in, and we are switching to springtime vibes. And I think just the ways that we can feel lighter and shift our routines in ways that are supportive, that's going to help us, whether we are going through challenging political times or whether we are having challenges and we're in a tricky time in our careers or with our families, or we feel like there's just a lot going on. Me personally, like I'm really looking to shift my routine now that we're in spring. And it's funny because I'm recording this and it's literally snowing, but this does always happen. I live in the north. I love living in the north, but we do always get like one big snowstorm right at the end of the season. And when people who are, a little more south than me are taking out their patio furniture, we're still shoveling. But I do want to be really mindful about how I am greeting this new season. I want to get more sunshine and fresh air. I think it's just an important needed change that really affects my mood, really affects just how I'm showing up in my world. And of course, I mean, there's so much science that backs it up and so many studies that show that exposure to natural light does improve your mood, does help regulate your sleep. It increases your energy. And I know these things, you know these things, but it's, I think right now, just being like, no matter what, even if it's snowing still, like getting myself into that habit of getting outside more, being in these natural surroundings, whether it's a trail, whether it's just a walk around the block, just getting that sunlight. Um, I love the quote that spring is a reminder of how beautiful change can be, because like change with our kids, and change with our careers, and change with you know politics and what's going on in our climate. Change can be good even if it feels really scary. And spring is that reminder of like growth and renewal. And it's kind of messy, and it's kind of mucky, and it's kind of yucky and rainy. And then it turns into like the flowers and the green and the grass and the leaves and the sun and the warmth. And so it's just this reminder right now where we are. We're in this period of change. And so how can you shift with the season to welcome it with more joy? Um, just thinking like outside the box a little, maybe it's not like going for a walk per se, but maybe it's like, you're going to sit outside for a few minutes, and maybe you do have to put on an extra layer, but can you have a few sips of your morning coffee outside? So before you get into your chaotic day, you can have those few deep belly breaths, and you can have that moment of peace outdoors, or starting a lighter new habit, whether it's, maybe a little bit of stretching or journaling, or, jotting down those morning papers outside in the fresh air, or just opening a window to get a little bit of fresh air circulating in your space. And I think, with the spring, we're talking about our routines and our spring cleaning and our health and our well-being. How can you do a little bit of a spring clean with your energy? And it kind of comes back to what we were talking about, but like, what is feeling heavy, or maybe who is feeling heavy, and what is draining you right now? Can you press pause? Can you let go? Coming back to my favorite pillar of well-being from the Juggle is Real Authentic Self-Care Planner, what can you discard even for the next 30 days, for a short period of time? What's something that you can put down that may be really helpful for you, even for the next little while? So I encourage you to choose one thing to welcome spring, and I would love to know about it. Can you share it with me? Like we're talking about earlier, slide on into my DMs on Instagram at Andryanna G, or send me an email. Let me know, like, how are you welcoming spring? What are you doing to feel lighter and to shift into, just more high vibe mode and enjoy this change of pace? So I think this is probably a good place to wrap up. But um, yeah, I mean, gosh, time is flying, time is moving, whether we want it to or not. But I think just one thing that I'm trying to be conscious of is that we don't have to race with it. We don't have to hustle and grind. We can just pick out those moments and pause for like a few seconds to try to just embrace where we are right now and find those silver linings. The world, gosh, I think it doesn't matter when you are, where you are. Like so many things are happening in the world, and it's so complex. But we get to choose how we engage with it, how we respond to things as they're thrown at us. And while the seasons are changing, what can we do to flow and interact with what's around us in ways that feel good? And just, I don't know, if there's one thing that you take away from this episode, even though it's a lot of just personal reflection, like I just want you to remember that you are allowed to embrace joy and sit with it, and seek out things that make you happy, even in complicated times, even in trying situations. You're allowed to experience and embrace joy. So if you like this episode, I would love it if you could screenshot it, maybe share, throw it in your stories, tag me, or let me know if something resonated. Of course, you can DM me, email me, let me know how you're shifting into spring. And if you enjoyed the episode, can you share with a friend, someone who could enjoy it as well? Maybe leave a review, rate this episode on Apple Podcasts. It really does help to bring more meaningful conversation to more people and help us as we're all going through the juggle together. I'm so grateful for the time that we spent together today. Thank you so much for listening. Make sure that you're subscribed so you can get more of The Juggle is Real as soon as it comes out. And until the next episode, please take good care. Bye for now.